Hello, Rotarians of District 6460, and welcome to our bi-weekly Zoom meeting. Thank you all for taking a moment out of your evening to join us. My name, as you know, most of you know, is Ryan Byers. I am your district governor nominee, and I have been so honored to be tapped to be your Zoom master for these meetings. We've got what should be a very educational and interesting presentation this evening from folks at the Rotary Foundation. And we are also going to check in on a few of our district programs. But for those of you who have been joining us since the beginning, you know there's only one way we can kick off a Rotary meeting, and that's with a little bit of a bell. So ding, ding. I declare that we have officially begun this virtual meeting of Rotary District 6460. And without any further ado, as I mentioned, we do have a special guest. That special guest is Rebecca Silber. Rebecca is an annual giving officer with the Rotary Foundation, who is responsible for giving throughout our Rotary Zone. She has over a decade of fundraising experience in a variety of different capacities, and she knows about all things and will tell us about all things TRF here tonight. Also, my understanding is that she will be able to take a few questions. So if you have questions while she's speaking, be sure to jot those down, and we'll get to those towards the end of the presentation. One of the questions I have, which I'll ask, but I won't make her answer if she doesn't feel comfortable, is exactly why she is the tomato queen. I don't get that, but Rebecca, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, hello, and actually thank you for asking. I meant to make a note of removing that title before I jumped on another Zoom call, but at Rotary, my team is very friendly and we all kind of have different nicknames. And since I am an avid gardener and used to bring in tomatoes last summer, and of course we're all working from home now, so I won't have that opportunity this summer most likely, but I do have a nice little garden and I am known as the tomato queen on my team. So it's not embarrassing. I just probably should have remembered to remove that before I joined another call. So thanks for pointing that out. Not shy to answer that at all. So if you have questions about tomatoes, I'm happy to talk about that too. So yes, as Ryan mentioned, I am the annual giving officer for zones 30 and 31. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's all right with you. Let's go ahead. Okay, yep. I'm just waiting for that kind of go ahead from you, Ryan. But while I am waiting for that, yes, I'm the annual giving officer for zones 30 and 31. And of course, as you know, that does include 6460, where you all are located. And today, as Ryan again mentioned, I will be talking about the Rotary Foundation. So I've been working at the Rotary Foundation for over 2 years now, and I just want to start by expressing my gratitude and my appreciation for your service and your generosity. It's absolutely my privilege to work at the foundation, and I am continuously impressed and inspired by all that you Rotarians do every single day. So first and foremost, I do want to say thank you. All right, I think I've got, yes, ability to share my screen now. Great. All right, there we go. So if you're not familiar with zones 30 and 31, of course, we all are in 31, and zone 30 is just over the border into Indiana. So it goes from Indiana to Ohio, all the way down to Alabama and Louisiana on the coast there, and then up to Missouri. And I have the tiniest bits of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas as well. So quite a bit of area to cover, but I'm very glad that I'm very close to you all. And so just to start, the reason we're all here tonight, or at least I am, is to talk to you about the Rotary Foundation. And before I do so, I do want to just address that, of course, with current events, I know that it's a difficult time for many. And so today, I know that, as a foundation representative, you're probably thinking, oh, she's, here mostly to ask for funds and to do fundraising. And while that is, of course, a focus of mine, mostly I'm here to inform you tonight about the many ways that the foundation is here to help you in your goals to make an impact in your communities. And so to that end, the Rotary Foundation's mission on the screen is to enable Rotarians like you to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. And so for me, the most important words in this foundation mission are enable Rotarians. So mostly what this foundation mission is all about is being here to support you in the work that each of you are doing locally in District 6460, as well as in your projects around the world. And in order to do that, we do raise funds for the initiatives that are most important to you and to your community. So yes, in support of the mission, we do have the 6 overarching causes that we call the areas of focus. And they are providing clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Orion, by the way, I think I'm in charge of the waiting room as well now. So I'm just gonna let people in if that's all right with you, because I'm seeing some join. Yes, great. Okay, so the areas of focus are providing clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, fighting disease, supporting education, saving mothers and children, promoting peace, and growing local economies. And so I think it's incredible that Rotary has identified these 6 areas of focus. It's a way to make sure that funds are directed to issues and to problems that we all agree need solving. These areas of focus guide everything we do and make the Rotary Foundation and the work that you are all doing as Rotarians even more impactful because it is so focused. So tonight, I just want you to take a moment and I want you to think about your area of focus, the cause that is most important to you, what you're most passionate about, what keeps you engaged in your Rotary work. Many of you support the foundation already, and if so, I'd like to ask you to ask yourself, why do you give? If you're just starting out in your Rotary career, what will keep you coming back to your meetings and coming back to your Rotary service? The world is in great need of problem solvers, I would argue more now than ever. And as Rotarians, you are uniquely positioned to create positive change in the world around you, and of course, in your local communities. So I'd like you to just take a moment and think about where you'd most like to use your influence as a Rotarian with Rotary, of course, but also through the Rotary Foundation's funds that are available to you. Ooh, and now let's see if my computer is, there we go. Oh goodness. Here we are. Okay. And so the Rotary Foundation has a few funds that you can give to. They are the annual fund share program is on there, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But annual fund share is the primary source of funding for a broad range of local and international activities. And through the share program, funds are converted into district designated funds in a 3-year process. There's also the World Fund, which supports grants and program opportunities available to all Rotary districts. And an important purpose of the World Fund is to support global grants. The World Fund is in large part supported by the annual fund contributions that do come back to you through that 3-year share program. There's, of course, the Polio Plus Fund. Polio eradication continues to be Rotary's top philanthropic priority. And since the 1980s, when Rotary began its fight against polio, more than 2.5 billion children, billion with a B, I like to point that out, have been immunized against polio. And the incidence of polio has been decreased by 99.9%. In my next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the polio eradication efforts that we have. We, of course, have Disaster Response Fund. The Disaster Response Fund is actually brand new. I realize I haven't mentioned that in my previous times talking to people, and they're always like, where did it come from? So it's only about a year old, and it raises funds to be used in grants to meet immediate needs due to natural disasters. And of course, recently, COVID-19 related projects also qualified for disaster response grants, and over $4 million have been awarded to more than 170 grants in districts all over the world since this crisis began. And finally, I want to mention the Endowment Fund. The Endowment Fund ensures the long-term viability of the Foundation's grants and programs. and gifts to the endowment fund are invested in perpetuity, and earnings from those investments are used to support vital Rotary projects. Oftentimes, when a Rotarian includes the foundation in their estate plans, they include gifts to the endowment fund in order to ensure that their values as Rotarians are made known to ensure the healthy future of Rotary for all to enjoy. I hope that you see that whatever your interest is, whatever your passion is or your area of focus that you thought about earlier, however you would like to make an impact with your giving, there is likely a way to give to the Rotary Foundation to meet your personal goals for your generosity and your service. And so yes, I always like to talk about Rotary's polio eradication efforts. So on the top left of this screen, you'll see the red countries. Those are the countries that were where polio was endemic in the 1980s when our efforts began. And then on the bottom right, you'll see the endemic countries today. And those are Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Pakistan. So as of last Wednesday, which is the last time we have numbers reported, and we'll get more actually for today pretty soon, I'm assuming. But as of last Wednesday, the number of cases of wild polio virus reported is a total of 61. And those 61 cases are occurring in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. These cases, you may know, are down currently from last year when it was 165 total cases. Of course, we're only halfway through the year. And last year's 165 cases was quite a jump from the year prior. So I know that that seems like of course, it's a bad thing to have a jump in polio cases, but really what we're learning is that our efforts have done more good than we actually ever thought they could at this point. Last year, on October, during World Polio Day, we did celebrate the eradication, of type 2 wild polio virus. Sorry, type 3. And that means that 2 types of wild polio virus actually have been eradicated from the face of the planet. So while our work to eradicate polio is encouraging, of course, we have a little bit more to go. And I only say that because Nigeria, for instance, still has 0 cases of polio that have been reported this year. And so we're hoping that that continues to be the case, because if so, we will have 3 years going with Nigeria being polio-free. And when that is certified polio-free, when it is certified polio-free, that means the entire African region will as well. And so, of course, we're hoping with not only our hard work, but all of our partners as well, that Afghanistan and Pakistan will soon follow suit. So I bring up polio. I know it might seem a little bit interesting in these times, but I bring it up not only because we're so committed to it, but also because our work is so encouraging when you look through the lens of our current crisis with COVID-19. Currently, in the endemic countries, the framework in place for surveillance of polio is also being used to track the novel coronavirus. So in these incredibly challenging times, I like to keep reflecting on all of the contributions that you, Rotarians, have had and already made in the fight against polio and other diseases. I've thought a lot about all of the health centers around the world that have been staffed and funded and, of course, kind of built and maintained by Rotary volunteers. I know that there was a health and hygiene program that you all took under your wing in 6460. It was actually the Edwardsville Club in 2019 to bring latrines and washing stations to 3 schools in Zambia. So think of all of the students who have access to basic sanitation needs because of the projects and impacts that you've already had. Think of all of the health professionals who have been trained and received scholarships because of Rotary Foundation grants. So I bring this up because I personally take comfort in knowing that while we're experiencing times the likes of which we never see again, there are systems in place because of Rotarians like you who are already helping and will continue to help humans around the world get through this health crisis. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And so just to talk a little bit about Rotary's response to COVID. So I don't know if any of you were able to tune in last month, but there was quite a lovely telethon, and it raised, as you can see on the screen, $529,000 plus towards the disaster response grants. And so that went into a larger pool of over $4 million in funding for 178 projects. And actually, those numbers are a little bit out of date, so I'm assuming it's even higher than that. So I will send along a link so you have access to the Rotary.org page where you can keep up to date on Rotary's response and also see what other clubs and what other districts are doing to stay connected during this time and to support their communities. I know all of you have raised money not only in your local communities, but I'm sure lots of you have contributed as well. There have been so many lovely stories of just people really kind of rolling up their sleeves and really taking to the communities that you live and work in and really making quite a difference. So I definitely recommend going on Rotary.org and seeing some of those stories. Of course, Facebook is great for that as well, just to see some really uplifting examples that you probably already know way too well, much better than I do. So I just really want to say thank you for your lasting positive impact. And then to that end, I do want to thank you for meeting online. I think as Rotarians, you pride yourselves in disease prevention as one of our areas of focus. And being leaders in your community as far as meeting online is really a great way to show how much you care about the Rotarians in your community and your fellow community members. So thank you for staying safe and healthy and by bringing these meetings online. Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, these were not meetings that were happening before. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. Yeah, we weren't meeting regularly as a district, and we've gotten quite a bit of good feedback. We've been doing them bi-weekly, and a lot of folks have said that we need to continue this even after the pandemic is over.
I love that. Yes, I've heard so many great examples of things just like this with either meeting when you weren't meeting before bi-weekly. I love that. Or I joined a club recently, and they had a member who's actually stationed in Kuwait. He's coming back now, but he hadn't been to, a club meeting with his fellow, local home Rotarians in so long. So he was able to jump online and meet with his normal, his usual club. And I thought it was just such a great touching moment to see them all connecting in that way. So I thank you for really taking these opportunities and running with them. I know there's nothing like that, fellowship of being in person, but I think that this is somewhat of a good, second best. So thank you. I also want to make sure your profile on Rotary.org is up to date. This might seem like a small detail, but because of our mail being slow, I don't know if you all are experiencing that in Illinois where you live, but I know that here in Chicago, our mail has been glacial lately. And so any, letters that we're trying to send, lots of thank you notes that we usually send in the mail, we're now doing online. So we are really harping on it to ask people to update their myrotary.org. And then finally, if you ever have any questions, Rotary Support Center continues to be the best way to stay connected with Rotary International in Evanston. So there's the number there and also that support center email address. I highly recommend. Our colleagues in Rotary Support Center are usually pretty quick about getting back. And again, I'll send all of this information to DGN Ryan for him to share as well later. And then I love talking about the Charity Navigator rating that we have. If you're not familiar with Charity Navigator, it's quite a large organization that does rate charities, organizations. So we are proud to have been rated with the highest rating. It's 4 stars for 12 years in a row now. And so this is just a snapshot of Rotary's efforts and fiscal responsibility, but we have proven over the years to be among the most competitive in our peers in this area. Only 1% of the charities that they do evaluate have received 10 4-star ratings in a row, and we've actually received that rating 12 years in a row. And I'm hoping that we'll have it for last year as well. We'll see, but I'm confident we will. I like to share this information because I think it shows how far your dollars do go when you contribute to the Rotary Foundation. We know that there are many places you can contribute your hard-earned resources, and we take the responsibility of stewarding your funds very seriously. So when you make a gift to the Rotary Foundation, you know that your dollars are doing the most good. And so I did want to talk a little bit about kind of the overall fundraising picture of the Rotary Foundation. And actually, I don't share these numbers with many people, but we're towards the end of the fiscal year, the Rotary year, so I figured, why not? So as you can see here, we've raised just a bit over 65% towards our annual fund goal for the year. And I do want to mention that these numbers are from April 30th because our overall books don't really close for the prior month for May until about June 15th. So yes, we're about 65% towards our annual fund goal. And then actually I've gotten some updated Polio Plus numbers this afternoon, and we're actually only 12 million away, 12 million away from that $150 million goal. And then, so we've raised 92% of that goal. And then the endowment fund is ahead of goal, which we're happy to report, while other funds, which include gifts to global grants and other kind of miscellaneous funds, is 82% of the goal. I bring this up not just as a snapshot to say, you know, this is where we're at, but I mostly wanted to focus on that annual fund number, since in 3 years from now, that's where the funds will come from for your district and the global grants that you would like to pursue. So you may be aware that the World Fund, and this is also kind of new news as of last week, was recently exhausted for the 2019-20 year because 33% more global grant requests came through in these past few weeks. And I bring this up because the World Fund also is funded through the annual fund, through that annual fund share program. I mention all of this because it's more important than ever to contribute to the annual fund so that you have the annual fund, you know, and World Fund dollars in order to make sure that the work that you're planning to do in the future is supported financially. So that's the overall picture of kind of the bigger Rotary Foundation. And then we also have your district numbers. And I wanted to just kind of give you like a rah-rah cheerleader moment to say, you know, you really can finish this year very strong. So currently you are, as of May 30, and actually I can pull May 30 numbers for your district while I couldn't do the same for, you know, the full Rotary Foundation. So as of May 30, you have reached 90% of both your annual fund and your Polio Plus goals. And so I just really want to say you're so close. You could finish at or hopefully even above your target for those funds. I think that's really kind of a great thing to say, you know, 10% for 1 more month to go, it's actually not that bad, so good work. And I also saw that District Governor Mark is running a matching points campaign to make it even more enticing to contribute to the foundation. And I know DG and Ryan, you did want to talk about that a little bit more later, so I will not talk too much about it, but I did hear, and of course by hear I mean I watched that really lovely video that I found online that gifts over $250 will be matched with foundation points. So I think that's a really great opportunity to not only make your contribution, but, you know, maybe get a little bit more recognition than you would otherwise. And then finally, DGN, Ryan, and I spoke earlier today, and he mentioned that it's the district's kind of secret, maybe not so secret wish, to hopefully one day reach $100 per capita. And so we looked at your numbers together from past years, and the last time it was reached was 2015-16. So currently you're at $69.60 per capita with just a month to go. And I know that that seems like so very much, but I definitely believe that when there's a will, there's a way. And if any group of people can get to a goal, it's a group of Rotarians. So I'm hoping that'll give you some motivation and dedication, because I have confidence that you can reach that if you really put your mind to it, especially with the matching points program. So with all of that, I think the most important thing I really can say is thank you. I do want to wrap up my time by just encouraging you a little bit more to take a moment to think about how Rotary is enriching your life today. Are there projects that you work on that put a smile on your face? Are there fellow members who let you know that they are here for you if you need them? Something I think we all need more than ever. These are seemingly small things, and I think they really are truly important. And whether those in your communities know it or not, I know that Rotary enriches their lives as well. So through all that you do with your time and your generosity, I know that the world is a better place. So I just want to say thank you. And that's all I've got.
And thank you, Rebecca, for joining us this evening. And I will ask at this time if anybody has any questions for Rebecca. If you do, you can feel free to use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or you can drop a line to me in our text chat, and I'll ask it to her if you're a little bit bashful too. Anybody at all? Well, it looks like you did such a great job that you covered everything, and folks have nothing more to ask. But, oh, I'm sorry. I see actually our district governor nominee designate,
Okay.
my counterpart, Bill Doral, has a question. Bill?
So, Rebecca, I want to thank you for a very informative briefing. Uh, I think most of us are familiar in the district with the historic funds that Rotary has, to include Share and Polio Plus and the Endowed Fund. Um, the Disaster Relief Fund, as you mentioned, is very new.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is that donations to that fund also count towards Paul Harris points, but they don't count as far as the share is concerned, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so fellow District 6460 Rotarians, it just so happens that the money you contribute to the share fund this year is the money that our district gets to use during my year as district governor. And so um, while I know that there are lots of people that are uh, suffering, including Rotarians who have lost opportunities over the last 10 weeks or so from the coronavirus, I would certainly request that all of you who can uh, make a donation to the extent that you can. And in fact, for those of us who are either Paul Harris Society members or donate regularly or are normally healthy contributors, if we can afford it, let's see if we can't donate a little bit more than we normally do. I donate to, I'm a member of the Paul Harris Society, and I donate to the Rotary Foundation because I can think of no better organization to receive my charitable donations than the Rotary Foundation. And Rebecca, I think you showed very well with the Charity Navigator data. We do a very, very responsible job in Rotary of using our funds to maximum benefit, and we cover a lot of very critical areas with the money that we send to the Rotary Foundation. So we still have almost a month to go before the end of our Rotary year. So I would encourage everybody to take advantage of the points that the district has offered, and let's see if we can't go beyond the 100% that we did last year. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you make a fantastic point that I think Rotary does not just a great job of stewarding funds, but currently we're in a very good spot because of the way that we've set ourselves up. So that with the current situation with coronavirus, we're not, closing doors, anything like that. I think we've all, as a staff, been here more than ever to support your work through grants and, all of the different ways that you interact with the Rotary Foundation and different departments. But I think your point that the foundation has a really great way of stewarding funds and using funds and being a solid organization really is not just speaking to what we do, but mostly speaking to our commitment to making sure that you all are able to do the work that you want to do, especially in your DT year, of course. So thank you so much for your contributions and for your support. And yes, absolutely, please think of us when you can. Yes.
Yeah, Bill is in a position that is very familiar to me. I feel like I was just there 12 months ago, standing up at our district assembly and making a very similar pitch. Speaking of people in the governor line, while Rebecca's still on the line, I believe our immediate past district governor, who is also now our district Rotary Foundation chair, Mr. Brian Barstead, wanted to say something. Brian?
Thanks, Rebecca, for joining us today. You've added some great value to what we're trying to do here. I just wanted to reiterate on the points matching program. I see we have 42 participants on this call tonight, and there's about 20, between 2,000 and 2,100 Rotarians in the district. So how do we communicate from this group to that group to encourage people to make contributions in the next 20 days? That's my challenge to you. We've sent out emails. Brian and I did a video. I'm not too proud to beg. That's a great song, by the way, by the Four Tops. But I think it's great that we're out here trying to get money. And as you said, there's no better place to put it. So I would like all you folks to fan out and shake the trees and see if we can get a few more checks between now and the end of the year. And anybody who contributes an extra $250 or more, we have some points that we're trying to give away, so that'll make it closer for you to your next Paul Harris Fellow. I will tell you a couple of creative ways you can use these points. There's nothing better as a stocking stuffer at Christmas time than to buy your spouse or your best friend a Paul Harris Fellowship. And if you have points, you have clout, and you can do those kinds of things. And it's a lot of fun. I've awarded Paul Harris Fellows to a couple of my best friends, and I was able to make my wife a Paul Harris Fellow when I was installed as a governor a couple of years ago. That's sort of a mystery to people how they can do that, but it's very easy. And if you'd like some help in doing that, I'm happy to do that. We've had 2 people so far who've taken advantage of the points program that are going to give a Paul Harris Fellow to, one's to a spouse and the other one's to a community leader. So I'm happy to help you do this, and I'm happy to share the good story that the foundation is giving, and it makes me happy to make it happen. So please help us out. Thank you.
Yeah, make sure you're not leaving points on the table. I think it's great that this offer is being made. And so if you can really, take advantage of it, I think it's a great way to motivate people and get kind of feet on the ground. And I like shaking the trees. I like that as an analogy.
Brian mentioned making his wife a Paul Harris Fellow, and I always admit this, even though it's somewhat embarrassing. My club made my wife a Paul Harris Fellow, and it wasn't even my idea. I felt like a real schmuck after they thought about her before I did. In any event, it looks like we've got another question. This is coming from the chat room from Nancy Laveau down in the Rotary Club of Granite City for Rebecca. Somebody mentioned in an earlier question or an earlier comment the Paul Harris Society, and Nancy would like to know exactly what the Paul Harris Society is and how it benefits the foundation.
Yes, great question. So the Paul Harris Society, which sometimes does get confused with Paul Harris Fellows, it's a little bit different. So the Paul Harris Society is a group of very generous and committed donors who have said, yes, I want to contribute $1,000 per year to the Rotary Foundation. And it's a commitment that you make. So I think a big kind of confusion is that once you've done that $1,000, whether it's through I think it's $87 per month through Rotary Direct, or whether it's, through 2 checks of $500 each, once you give that $1,000, you are now eligible to be to be a Paul Harris Society member. But there is one more little box you have to check to say, I sign up to make this commitment to be a Paul Harris Society member. And the reason we do that is because we don't want to just blanket sign people up for that commitment, because we want people to really kind of think about it and take it upon themselves to say, this is a commitment that I'm making to the foundation for, year after year. And so the reason we really enjoy the Paul Harris Society and at the foundation side is it's people who we know we can depend on year after year to step up and make that contribution. So the Paul Harris Society really kind of gives us this longevity of funds that we can see coming, and it's to the annual fund, I should say, and Polio Plus as well. So it's just a way for us to know that year after year, these very generous individuals have decided to give $1,000 or more.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And I am not seeing anything else come through in the way of questions, though folks can still wave their hand at me as I try to wrap it up. Not seeing any waving going on, so I will thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I do see a hand now. Kay Ifner from the Rotary Club of Pike County. I'll unmute Kay. Kay, what do you?
Well, I put this in the chat box, but you must not have seen it. You want to remind us quickly about the foundation training on Saturday? We can't hear you.
I've been on, 50
Thank you.
Zooms in the last month. I think that's the first time I've forgotten to unmute myself. In any event, yeah, that is actually on my agenda for a little bit later this
Okay.
afternoon. So we'll cover that here in a bit. Yeah, we've got our grant certification coming up this weekend, and we'll talk about that here in a bit.
Thank you.
Great. So Rebecca, one more time, thank you very much for joining us. And I feel comfortable speaking on your behalf and saying that, there was contact information flashed on one of those slides earlier. I'm sure that you've got no problem with anybody using that. But again, it was a pleasure to have you. Very informative presentation. And we're going to talk a little District 6460 now. So you can feel free to join us, or you can feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening.
I'm going to stick around because I love learning more. So
Great.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Good deal. Thank you. And I see some people clapping silently because they're all muted still. All right, just a few more things on our agenda. We do try to keep these down to less than an hour, but I am going to throw to somebody who is very important, none other than our district governor, Mr. Mark Roberts is on the line. Mark, do you have anything to say to us tonight?
No, just good evening to everybody. A special thank you to Rebecca, and it was nice for you to share that information with us, specifically the information, the current numbers for our performance so far in giving to the foundation. And you all saw a couple emails from me in the last few days, and hopefully maybe took a few minutes to watch the video where I explained this a little bit further. But guys, this is important, and we're all in different situations right now, but the Rotary Foundation does great work. It's our foundation, and we've got these last few days of this year to provide that support that we so desperate they need on our behalf, and that we're going to be able to utilize for great things 3 years from now. So if it's within your capacity to do it, please make that contribution and also take advantage of that match. Earlier this year, it's still a secret, but I named both my kids Paul Harris Fellows and was going to present it to them at one of my club meetings at the end of my tenure here. We'll find another way to do that. But man, what a satisfying thing to be able to do that, your spouse, a community first responder, whatever it might be. So let's do that. Let's rally together and finish this thing up strong. And thank you very much for being here. It's good to see you all.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Mark is enjoying the last few weeks of that downhill slide as we go to July 1. But somebody who is just ramping up, District Governor-elect Maura Donnelly, less than 30 days now until that E drops off and you are just the DG. How you feeling, Maura, and do you have anything for the district tonight?
I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I'm getting probably 8 emails a day, so I know my Rotary.org is updated correctly, and I'm going to be sharing all of that information with each of you in the next few days about training opportunities that you can get on Rotary Club Central, on My Rotary, and hounding you about whether or not the president-elects, if they've got their goals in the Rotary Club Central, and really pushing for the foundation, as Mark and Brian have been talking about. So we want to finish strong. And we do have an installation that we will host. An email went out on Monday to the president-elects and the district team and the Council of Governors. We're going to do it virtually because we have to, but we are going to make it a lot of fun. Kevin, my cohort, is on here. We're going to have a Zoom meeting tomorrow to do some official planning for some fun things to throw out at that. But if you've got flapper attire, we are doing a Roaring 20s theme this year. It really has been a Roaring 20s. So feel free to participate in the email. It's we have categories for the I'm on my spot here, the friendship flapper category, or the goodwill gangster, or the truthful twosome. Those are the 3 categories that we'll be picking prizes out for the best costumes. So look forward to seeing everybody on July 1st. That is consequently a month away from, or actually in our bi-weekly series. So that's about it. In 2 weeks, I'll have another update, because I guess I'm giving the program, like Rebecca, I will be doing that in 2 weeks from now. So sign in, tell your friends.
All right, very good. And for those of you who were going to be at Mara's installation when it was in person, and you were a little bit nervous about having to find 1920s garb, one good thing that the pandemic has done for you is it's made your job easier, because now you just have to find 1920s period clothing from the waist up as opposed to your full body. I mean, how much more simple could we make it for you? And I am going to throw now to somebody who we heard from a little bit earlier, because he and I are going to be doing a little dog and pony show on Saturday, and we're going to do a dog and pony show now to promote our dog and pony show on Saturday. Once again, Brian Barstead. Brian, tell the group what we're doing on Saturday.
Right, you are Ryan Byers. We'll be doing our 1-hour training on how to be a cool person and help your club get through grants. It's the grants administration training that you normally get when you come to a district assembly, but we didn't have a district assembly this year. So we're going to get this out so that people can do it the modern way using newfangled tools like Zoom. And we'll be doing this from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock on the, well, or until we're done. I'm not going to go till 10 if we don't need that much time. I'm going to steamroll right through this. This isn't rocket science, but we're going to go through it. And all the people who participate, we'll send you a little form to sign, and then you will be a certified grants guru for your club, and you'll be able to facilitate their application and acceptance in the grants program this coming year and in future years. There are going to be a couple changes this year to the grants program. We're going to extend the time frame by about a month. We're going to give each club until August 15th this year to apply for their grant. And then we're going to give them until May 15th to close their grant next year. So by adding 15 days on both ends, that gives you an extra month. The folks that have grants that are outstanding for this current Rotary year, the completion of their grant projects has been extended now until the end of June, because we've had a lot of clubs who were not able to plant the trees or do the things that they were trying to do on their grant request because they couldn't get within 6 feet of each other, or they could not do the social distancing that was necessary to get those projects done. So we're going to extend that. That's a thank you to Rebecca and all the folks at Evanston who made that possible, because a couple months ago we were sweating bullets trying to figure out how we were going to get it all done. And so I hope that that'll give you folks a little bit more slack. Next year we don't have quite as much money available to give as we had during Mark's year or during my year as governor. And that means that probably the top grant opportunity this year will be around $2,500. Again, that's because of annual fund contributions 3 years ago. So I hope you see the cause and effect, and then the effect of the cause. So join us if you haven't been certified, or if you'd just like a refresher, and we will walk you through it, and we'll keep it light and breezy. And just bring your coffee mug, and if you pack your eggs and bacon, you can enjoy breakfast with us as well. And I'll try not to talk with my mouth full. Brian, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. We'll do our little morning show. You'll be Kathy Lee, I'll be Hoda, and we'll have a good time.
I wanted to be Hoda.
Oh,
that's not fair.
Right, well, you've got the
Kathy
seniority.
Lee. Now, come on. Is that an age crack or what?
Just
might as well call me Regis then. Come on, let's just go right to
don't
the
forget your
elderly.
wine if you're going to be those two.
That's right.
Yeah, wine with an H, that's for sure. We'll have fun though. We always have fun when I'm in the room. So
absolutely.
And if you want to bring yourself to the meeting, just bring yourself with a smile. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And again, that'll be this coming Saturday. I guess one thing that Brian didn't say is that, or if he did say it, maybe I spaced out, we are going to be recording that. So if there are folks who need to be certified who are unable to attend live on Saturday morning, we will be putting that up on the district's YouTube channel for later viewing, and we'll have probably a little quiz you need to fill out to certify that you actually attended it. I will also say, since we just talked about grants, if you're clicking around on your video screen, our incoming club grant chairperson for the new year, Bonnie Stiles, is on the line. And if you look at Bonnie and her background, I think she's in an office there, and I can tell that she's going to be an excellent grant chairperson, because look at the organization in Bonnie's video. I see file cabinets. I think things are alphabetized. Our records are going to be in good order going forward. So that pretty well wraps up all the folks I wanted to check in with. If anybody has anything else for the good of the district, drop a line or raise your hand up. I do see Jerry Brookhart from Macomb trying to get my attention. Jerry, what do you got from us?
Well, in this home stretch on the foundation donations, one of the things we have done here for the month of June is we've offered from one of our members who has excess points that he is going to match up to 500 points for anybody's donation to the foundation. So I figured out if you got $400, you get $250 from the district and $400 from him, you've got a Paul Harris Fellow in our club. And that person offering that matching points in our club is Steve Hopper. So I just think it's just an idea for other clubs maybe to help on the home stretch here.
I wanted to clarify that, Jerry. Actually, we're matching the points. It just has to be a minimum of 250 to qualify. So in your example, if somebody gave 500, they'll get a 500 from the district, and they'll get a 500 from your anonymous donor who's like 3 squares below me in my array here. And that's 1,500. That's almost 2 Paul Harris pins in one deal. That's a pretty good deal. So
or $300 would get you there.
Yeah, 300 will almost get you a new car if we could trade the points for a car, but we can't quite do that.
It's a great deal. Yeah.
All right. Well, one thing I'll say, hey, Jerry, since I've got you on the line, I don't know how many people on the call know this, at least several of us do. This was the Rotary Club of Macomb's centennial year. They were going to have what looked to be an excellent centennial celebration that unfortunately had to be pushed off a little bit due to the pandemic, but I understand it will be happening. Jerry, do you have any update for us on how things are coming with that?
Yes, I do, Brian. We are, assuming that everything opens up, we're planning to have that celebration one of the last 2 weekends in August. And so we have yet to set it. It'll be the 22nd or 29th of August, depending on what happens with the state.
Okay, very good. So we'll all keep an eye out for that. I'm looking forward to going to Macomb. They had, we've got in this part of Illinois, we've got a lot of Lincoln statues, a lot of Lincoln memorabilia. Macomb's getting ready to do something that I've never seen before, which is a hybrid Lincoln statue topiary. So definitely get that on your calendars if you want to see something truly unique get unveiled. All right, we've got a couple of other folks who have things. This actually might be a late question for Rebecca to tackle. Rebecca, we have been joined for all of these district meetings by a couple of our Rotary Youth Exchange students, and they are here again tonight with us. We've got Sabrina from Venezuela, who is staying in Springfield. And we've also got Zane from Pike County, Illinois, who is calling in from his exchange down in Brazil. And Zane asked me a question that I think is a good one as far as giving to the Rotary Foundation is concerned. His question is, do you have to be a Rotarian to give?
That is a great question. So you do not have to be a Rotarian to give, and I can say that firmly and confidently because I am still not a Rotarian and I give monthly actually. So the only caveat is that if you're not connected to a Rotary Club, if you're not a Rotarian, unfortunately your contributions don't go towards share. So I picked my personal area of focus that I like to contribute to, and I contribute there. But of course, you could give to polio, you could give to World Fund, things of that nature, just disaster response. But yes, absolutely. Anybody can give to the Rotary Foundation. But if you're not a Rotarian, there will not be any, DDF that was spun off from it. That's the only caveat.
Okay. And I will say, you're not a Rotarian. With all of our clubs meeting online now, I'm sure there are several clubs in District 6460 that would be glad to welcome you into membership.
Well, tell who's meeting online.
Start our first e-club, Rebecca. That'd be awesome too.
There you go.
Send me the invites. I'm
He is
open
inevitable.
to options.
All right.
I really am. I honestly.
District Governor Mark had another item. Mark?
Hey, I see Steve Hopper. I'm wondering if Steve has something on that maybe is on this topic first before I take us slightly off of it. Steve,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to give a quick clarification. I'd really encourage people to become members of the Paul Harris Society because you can make your gifts quarterly, monthly. Once you do it electronically, you don't even feel it. If you, from the language that was given, I just wanted to clarify that it's not a lifetime commitment of giving $1,000. As I understand it, you agree to give it as long as you can. So if you reach a point, like if you lost your job in COVID, you wouldn't have to sell your kids or something in order to make your commitment for the Paul Harris Society. It's a great opportunity to do some really good things in the world. So I really support it, but I didn't want people to be afraid to make that commitment because you can make it, and if your circumstances change, you can make a change.
That is a great point, and it's absolutely correct. There are no Rotary police, so once you are no longer able to make that commitment or fulfill that commitment, you are absolutely not, bound to do so. But yes, I think that's a great point. Thank you.
Ryan, Rod Buffington, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear the disembodied voice of Rod Buffington. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I don't have a picture on tonight, so I can't see myself. But anyway, I know Steve Hopper was on, but we just had a zone meeting with Ian Risley from Australia, and he was mentioning how the polio fund is down this year in relationship to some other years. And it's important that we do that polio fund for the matching of what Bill and Melinda Gates gives in relationship to that. So if anybody would like to give to the polio fund, that would be great.
Yes, that is 100% true, both in terms of it being down a bit and in terms of it needing some last minute push so we can get that full match from the Gates Foundation. And I will say too, if anybody missed that conversation with Ian Risley, past Rotary International president, that was hosted by our Rotary Zones, they have been archiving those and putting the recorded video out so you can pick that up later on. I'm sure that that'll be circulating online, and I can help you track it down if you can't find it yourself. I think we're good to throw to Mark now. Mark?
Yeah, just really quickly, a slightly different topic, but I don't know if any of you are on the District 6460 Facebook page earlier today. The Rotary Club of Canton had worked to set up a joint Zoom meeting in real time with a club in India. And I don't know, Phil was probably there. And as I understand it, I couldn't attend due to some work obligations, but it was just a fantastic experience, as I understand it, to be able to share what people are doing for service and different projects and how they're dealing with, I think, COVID and Rotary in their communities. And I just want to strongly encourage every club to do this. Find the connections. I have a short list of district governors from around the world who said they'd be glad to try to do this. English-speaking clubs. Time is a challenge for some, but I've got one in Scotland that's only about a 6-hour difference. So if you moved your meeting to maybe 11 in the morning, they're an evening club. This is completely doable and a perfect way to expand your club's international exposure. I just think it was a wonderful idea, and a big shout out to everybody in Canton for doing that.
Absolutely. And Mark mentioned we do have a Canton Rotarian on the line tonight. That's Phil Fleming, I believe past President Phil Fleming. And Phil,
Yeah.
You want to give a little insight into that meeting?
We had our meeting at 10 a.m. our time, which was 8:30 p.m. their time, with about 20 Rotarians from both clubs, and had a great exchange. We're going to do it again. I have to give credit to Harry Thacker of our club for setting this up. And yes, we're going to be looking to doing one with Scotland also. So this is a great experience, and it was the other club in Gujarat in India. It will be our turn next time to talk to them about us. because they gave a great presentation on what their club does with them. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Phil, for that insight. Yeah, that is an excellent idea, and hopefully that's something we can continue to replicate. If anybody else has anything for the good of the cause, now is the time to make yourself known, but otherwise we are coming up on 8 o'clock, which means that we are probably going to put the brakes on this meeting and allow you to enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you especially again to Rebecca for joining us from the Rotary Foundation. And we wish you the best of luck meeting those goals for the end of the year and also in your garden. So without any further ado, we are signing off from Rotary District 6460. This meeting is adjourned.
Sabrina, are you still muted?
And the chair.
Hello.
Before we start